that even felt like almost outside of the realm of possibilities. And then to take it even farther, they were kind of that witty banter they had back and forth about, your father outcasted me, and he was like, and Jorah made the comment about, yeah, but he kind of had the right to do it, and then Jon makes the joke back about, well, I'm really glad that he didn't catch you. Just that like camaraderie, right? That banner back and forth. I loved that they put that stuff aside and just connected over what they were doing, the goal that they were there to serve, and just moved forward. And I love that.
And and they did a fantastic job of building up that team from the 5-minute scene, less than that, 2-minute scene that we saw last week when they all met each other at the jail cell and they like had their quick back and forth, and then from these like sort of asides that they had on their journey outside of the wall. So a lot of people have been giving the show shit recently about them traveling too fast, and I even have my own opinions about that too, and like they're rushing. But in a season where it feels like they're rushing so much, I felt like we got so many good character moments and so many good character building moments for a team that, even though it was a quick path to get out there and be part of this like really awful battle, we were aware of the stakes of it, and we were aware that they would have each other's back because of, you know, a quick couple of scenes.
So I've got a question that kind of aside from that, but like, why are they rushing this so fast? Like, why is this season only 7 episodes, and why is the next one only 6 episodes? There's no way it's budget with the amount of people watching it.
If it's
money
is the other way, brother.
It
like money would be more seasons, more time on air, more merchandise.
I don't get it. Like, they know the following this has.
They're outside the books now. Yeah. Like, how much of it could be because they've got to get to that end point, and they don't want to, right? They don't know how to draw it out in a way that's not going to screw it up.
They don't have anybody creative enough that can come up with their own story to like continue
screwing it up. Not without. I don't know.
I think the problem is connecting George R. R. Martin's thoughts and vision for the show in the way that he does so complexly.
Also, guys, like, hold on. HBO doesn't have unlimited
hold your
money.
Butts.
Yeah, hold on to your butts for a second, guys.
Hey!
But, like, HBO doesn't have unlimited money. They do have to stick to a budget on this show still.
I mean, have you seen their app?
It's astronomical. Like, the budget is insane what they have on each episode. And so, like, it doesn't just grow on trees for HBO. And viewers doesn't necessarily translate directly to, you know, having the runway to do more huge budget episodes. So I think that they are pouring so much more per episode, so much more money per episode. And I'll look it up here in a second what the budget has been so far. But like, it's so far beyond what they've done in past seasons, and they're wanting to give this cinematic experience every Sunday that I don't think they can keep that up.
So you think they're at the break even?
Yeah, I honestly do. I think they are. Like, they're at that point right now where like, they know that if this season, if they continue to do this, then, you know, they would maybe risk, I don't know.
So here's a quote from Ian Glenn, who plays Jorah. He basically says, I think the scale and the size of the set pieces, the world that's being created, it's just getting more and more extraordinary. They feel that they need the time to shoot 7 hours as opposed to 10.
Do you want to read it? Beth has a stat. I want to read it real quick.
So we've got between 2012 and 2015, the average budget per episode increased from $6 million to at least $8 million. The 6th season budget was over $10 million per episode, for a season total of $100 million and a series record.
So you got to assume that there's guys pushing the pennies over at HBO right now.
Tycho from the Broncos Bank is like...
And so they know that, like, if this is what we had budgeted for the first few seasons and we were doing really successful, okay, let's crank it up a bit, but we're almost doubling it now for the last season. And so, you know, you can't continue at that pace for too long, you know.
Yeah, I guess I think about it a little bit differently, as in, like, well, you could cut budgets for episodes and create more seasons. Like, it didn't have to be one or the other. It could have been a combination of multiple. They could have even drawn it out to have more time for George R. R. Martin to finish the books. But I feel like what I'm getting and what I'm feeling as a watcher of the show without having read the books is that they were pulling so much from the source material but still not giving us everything, and then pushing to get that into production in a way that made sense for a television show. And I'm really glad that they're deciding, like, hey, this is our end point, but I think the difference is, like, now we need to beat the books to production, because if we don't, then things might get really tricky and people might be, like, really confused.
And I feel like the books helped us build such a rich, deep backstory, and we know, and I do at times kind of resent the fact, not resent it's a negative connotation, I guess.
Get angry.
I don't get angry about it. But in some ways, I wish that we had kept kind of an even pacing all along. But, we can't go back and change the past. So you have this rich backstory, right? You know these characters. So what could have just been, you never knew who the Hound was, and he just popped up all of a sudden. He was on this journey of merry men, right? Going beyond the wall. Now you know who he is. So for me, the Hound has always been kind of this character. When he pops up, I'm like, yeah, nice guy, a little weird to look at, and so on, go about your merry way, right? But now you know so much about him, and in this episode specifically, some of the dialogue that he had with the different characters, I felt so much more connected to him than I think I've ever felt in any episode he's ever been in. And I was really intrigued by the conversations he was having. I mean, between him and Tormund about Brienne, that was such a random connection, and those kind of things that you wouldn't have known if they hadn't taken the slow time to build up some of that backstory. So I'm almost okay that we went so slow in the beginning, and now we're moving because we know these pieces and parts. And I'm very interested in how some of the things that before felt like, why are we wasting so much time on this person? Now, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, I see the picture coming together. And with the Hound, it was mentioned to me today, we saw in this episode, the one character that we saw that did die, human, was Thoros.
Of Mir, yeah.
Could the Hound be his replacement?
Oh.
You mean like to be able to bring Beric back?
Oh, or like just in the Brotherhood without banners?
Because you do see him start to, almost like in a light training method, right? See into the fire. He has the vision. He's starting to become one with the Brotherhood. Reluctantly, could he become a replacement?
I like it.
Yeah, I think what we kind of got was that he is being like guided by the Lord of Light, even though he doesn't know it. Now he just believes a little bit more. I think the Brotherhood without banners is more of like a group that assembled because of the same thoughts, and they just found each other. But Thoros, I think it absolutely makes sense that they have more of a following now with the Hound and whatnot. So for sure.
All right, let's talk about the battle. Let's get there. Let's talk about the actual, bones to swords battle that we got to see finally. I thought actually, we found out something really fucking important this week. We found out that killing the general or leader kills whatever whites that they had turned, and that's huge. Like, that is gigantic. I mean, what do you guys take away from that? Do you think that changes the entire landscape of, is this possible? And in fact, does it even look easy? Because there's 7 of them? Do we know that there's more than what we've seen, or what's the deal with White Walkers and how many are there? I guess.
Doesn't it always feel like the Night King has a 3-person entourage, and they just keep replenishing that third guy who keeps dying?
It's like the 4 horsemen. There are always 4 guys, one of them being the Night King.
Yeah, but they do keep replying. And this goes back to one of the questions I think that we had last week, where we talked about okay, if they get a baby, does it just become general immediately, or how does that work? How do White Walkers get created versus the Whites? And again, for our listeners who don't know, the White Walkers are these generals with the blue glowish skin that look healthy, I guess.
Like ice.
Yeah, they look like ice. Yep.
I was told that White Walkers, or part of it, is that they're created by the Night King, who places his hand on them. So if that is true, whereas whites, the Night King or whoever just raises them up with his hands. So in theory, if that is true, which you guys tell me if I'm wrong, then the dragon is a White Walker.
Yeah, there's definitely this difference. I don't think we have actual confirmation of what the difference is, and if you guys have it, then tell me. But what I understand is, there's there's 3 different levels. It's the Night King is at the top, and he's the actual king of those people, and then the White Walkers, who are generals, who seem to be created by his touch, which they were stealing Craster's babies to hopefully raise into those general types, and then the Whites are just people who die that they bring back. But what I don't understand is, if he could do that for anybody, why wouldn't he do it for everybody? If you could make a superior being, why wouldn't you do it for all of them? And there must be a time pass difference or something.
What do you mean, if you could do it for...
If he could walk around and touch every person who's dead and make them a White Walker instead of a White, why wouldn't you do that?
So the way it works is that any reanimated corpse becomes a White. It's a catch-all term for reanimated corpses of humans.
So they had to have died.
White Walkers, according to this, are... Hold on. I'm at the wrong part of this article. are inhuman beings with mystic powers.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
dragon
So
is a white.
they have
Yeah.
to be alive, is my guess, to be a White Walker.
Yeah,
Is
that
it-
makes sense for
Or
the baby theory.
were they created
So
by
the
the
dragon
children
can
of
be
men? Or the first
No, so
children?
in
The
theory,
Night
yes.
King.
First
Overall,
men?
because the children of the forest created the Night King. Night King created other White Walkers, and then they built their army of whites.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
Okay.
The whites are basically pawns, if we're keeping the chess...
They could have been freshly dead or dead for a long time, obviously based on the various states of
Correct.
decay that we've seen all
Noticed.
of them, right? Yep.
Yeah, so one thing I did notice about killing like the White Walker in that general is that the one white that they stole didn't go away. He was still alive, which was really confusing.
He must have just
And
abandoned
convenient.
his troop.
Yeah, and very convenient. Yes, at the
Well,
same time.
he
Convenient.
lets out a shriek, which then brings the other ones on.
Yeah.
Which is like what all started it.
You know the thing that I don't understand, and we watched the after part, and they're talking about like what can we do to like make this realistic so that way they're not just like dead right away. They're like, oh, we're gonna put them in the middle of an island, and there's gonna be like ice that breaks all around them. But at the end, and this really bothered me because I haven't felt this way about Game of Thrones very much. But at the end, the Night King takes this like dagger or like spear and like throws
I
it
know.
like
Lobs
hundreds
it.
of feet like in the air to hit the dragon. Why didn't he just do that to the guys on the island?
All right, so my guess is, and I don't think it would be to the guys, but it would have been to Drogon instead of taking taking Viserion over Drogon.
Yeah.
Is that Viserion offered up the option to reanimate? I think if he had done that to Drogon on the island, they would have immediately burned him.
No.
And-
Yes, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be.
That's just my thought.
To Kendall's point too, though, like why wasn't the Night King just like throwing spears at the guys on the island and like picking them off because he's got incredible aim and like blah blah blah.
They were sitting
Next
there for
quarterback,
hours.
They're
for the
just like,
Cleveland
they're
Browns.
they're sitting there. But I think like I'm of the impression that the Night King wanted to see what he could get out of this. Like he wasn't just gonna like pick them all off. He was like, let's see what I can get out of it. Like I think by all accounts and like what we've seen, he's a brilliant military mind. Like it's not he's not just a zombie. He's strategic. And so he's like, all right, if we've got these guys trapped, killing them would just end it.
Yeah.
What can we get out of this? And obviously it worked in his favor hugely.
I don't know. I agree. I don't completely understand why he bypassed Drogon. And I understand what you're saying, that he was assuming if he killed Drogon, they would have immediately burned him. But they were surrounded by whites. They're being attacked from all sides. I don't see them having the opportunity to be like, ooh, let's light a match and burn up this dragon really damn fast. I don't know if I can see that as a plot motivator for the Night King to go for the flying one over the one that's landed.
So here's a fun theory that one of my coworkers posed. So back a little bit ago in the previous season, the Night King in one of Bran's green sight visions touched him. So what if that gives the Night King the ability to have seen what Bran has saw, and he was able to plan ahead and know that there were going to be dragons at this fight, and know he wanted to even up the battle since there are 3. And if he could take out one, that would even up his forces even just a little bit.
How did Bran see that, though?
Not Bran. So Bran has the ability to see anything and everything that has happened or will come.
Therefore, the Night King would.
And so the theory is because the Night King touched Bran, he now has that same ability.
Yeah, because he can warg too. I find it interesting because I agree with Kendall from the beginning. There are a couple things that are really hard from a Game of Thrones perspective in a couple of these episodes where it feels like even just writing it differently would make more sense. Like maybe Viserion gets in front of the arrow or the javelin that he throws, or maybe they figure out some other way to get out of there, but Viserion is slow to leave. You know, there's a lot of options that make it not like, oh, here's Drogon and every character we care about on this tiny rock in the middle of the lake.
Seemingly feet away.
The Millennium Falcon has 3 out of the 4 main characters.
Yeah.
I think they're going to live.
Yeah, and then just throw it at Viserion, who's just flying around. It just didn't feel right to me at all.
It's fair.
All right, so I think another big thing that we pull out of like the White Walker piece of control is like Barracks want to just like go after the Night King from the beginning. He's like, that's the guy we're after. He's the one causing all this ruckus.
Yeah, and what would happen? Like, so I think he brings up, but did he even say this? Like, what would happen if they kill